and welcome to TSBS's training for speech therapy services. In this training, we will cover the requirements for documentation of speech therapy sessions, as well as evaluations. In order for a school district to receive speech therapy reimbursement through SHARS, a licensed physician or a licensed SLP must complete a referral for the student receiving the services. Referrals are eligible for 3 years. This is based on the 3-year reevaluation time required by school districts under IDEA. According to this requirement, the reevaluation can occur more frequently than the 3-year evaluation timeline. For example, if any evaluation or reevaluation results in a change in the plan of care for services, then that means a new referral is required. In order to provide a referral for speech therapy services, an eligible provider must have an active national provider identifier and be enrolled in Medicaid as an individual practitioner. The name and NPI of the referring licensed physician or other eligible referring provider must be listed on the claim and kept in the medical record. Speech therapists whose evaluations serve as the referral must be enrolled in Medicaid as individual practitioners and must use their individual NPI for claim submission. This policy became effective on November 1st, 2021, with the grace period extending for a calendar year after. An NPI is a 10-digit identifier administered to healthcare providers. NPIs are administered by the National Plan and Provider Enumeration System. There is no charge to obtain an NPI, and applications can be submitted online. Once an NPI is obtained, it will never expire. NPIs should be obtained first before enrolling in Medicaid. Medicaid enrollment applications are submitted online through TMHP's Provider Enrollment Management System. There is no charge to enroll as an individual provider. Before enrolling, applicants will need to gather the following information: their taxonomy code, licensure or certification number, social security number, driver's license number, and NPI. SLPAs and SLP interns are not required to obtain an NPI or enroll in Medicaid as an individual practitioner. Speech therapy services can be billed either in an individual or group therapy session. It is important to remember that when submitting your SHARS claims, the type of therapy service you're entering must match the type of service that is prescribed in the ARG. Time billed for SHARS may be direct therapy time or by virtual methods. Please note, all telehealth services are subject to change and review. Additionally, a therapist can bill for time spent assisting a student with learning to use adaptive equipment and assistive technology. Time spent without the student present, such as training teachers or aides to work with the student, report writing, and time spent on manipulating or modifying the adaptive equipment is not billable. The exception to this is if the therapist is working directly with the student during training time. Now, let's discuss the licensure requirements a practitioner must hold in order to bill for speech therapy services. The providers who can bill for SHARS reimbursement for speech therapy are an SLP with their master's, an SLP with their 3 C's, a state licensed SLP, and then an SLPA, and an SLP intern. As noted on the screen, an SLPA and SLP intern require supervision for SHARS. This is a Texas board requirement and not a Medicaid requirement. Following the requirements of ASHA for supervision will meet SHARS requirements for supervisory needs, with the exception of supervising an SLPA. SHARS does not require the supervising SLP to physically sign off on the SHARS billing ticket. However, according to TEA, in the event of an audit, The supervised SLPA must be able to identify who their supervisor is at the district, and supervisor logs must be kept on file for a 7-year period. In the event the SLP would like to approve the SHARS logs prior to their submissions to TSBS, supervisory approval services can be set up in the electronic billing system. Session notes are required for documentation purposes. Session notes must include the billable start time, billable stop time, total billable minutes, activity performed during the session, student observation, and the related IEP objective. It is recommended by TSBS to record both your billing information and session notes into your SHARS ticket. Doing this will allow you to report all necessary documentation in a single form and will follow state and federal audit requirements. In the event you handwrite session notes prior to entering them into your online billing system, TEA requires the handwritten session notes to be kept on file for 7 years. In essence, those handwritten notes are your true session notes and therefore need to be kept for audit purposes. If you do not handwrite session notes during the therapy session, but rather enter notes directly into your online billing system as the session occurs, those notes will serve as your primary session notes log, and therefore no secondary documentation will be requested in an audit. Initial testing and reevaluations are billable as long as they are provided by a fully licensed therapist. Evaluations may be conducted virtually. Please note, virtual services are subject to change. For speech therapy evaluations, the procedure code submitted must reflect the type of evaluation being performed. The therapist who performs the evaluation should use professional clinical judgment to decide which evaluation code to use. Session notes are not required for evaluations. However, the following documentation is required: billable start time, billable stop time, and total billable minutes, with a notation of the activity performed. If an evaluation is performed over several days, the provider must submit the same evaluation procedure code for each evaluation session. OT, PT, or speech therapy services that are prescribed in the student's IEP may be reimbursed as co-treatment. Providers should document in the session notes the reason for co-treatment. Multidisciplinary team evaluations performed collaboratively with any combination of PT, OT, or speech therapy and psychology may be billed by each provider when performed during overlapping time periods. Thank you for watching this training. We appreciate your assistance in your school district's continued success in the SHARS program.